So I'm making this very important video because a lot of my comments, of course, are when they see signs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their human logic interferes with their thinking and they say things like, well, what if it's just the algorithm? You know, I've been liking a lot of pages that talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so chances are there should be messages obviously talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just one of those messages happened to be at the same time I made the dua, and also very specific about my dua. You know what, it's just, it probably is just the algorithm, okay? So yeah. Look guys, logic is very good. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us to use our minds and not just follow things blindly. Think with your mind. Allah gave you your mind to think, right? So of course, logic is good. Science, common sense, all of these beautiful things. But we need to know there are certain things science cannot explain. Not everything can be explained by science, guys. And there are a lot of us that are basically science worshippers. They believe science can answer everything in this world. I mean, let's go with an example. How does our brain work, guys? How does our brain work? Of course, yeah, it sends electric impulses to our body, and that causes a stimulus to our muscles, and so our muscles contract, relax, and whatnot, right? Okay, but that's not the question. I said, how does the brain work? What controls the brain? You're talking about how the body is controlled. It's controlled by the brain. But what controls the brain itself? How do you cause the brain signals, the electric stimuli, to even activate in the first place? How do you trigger these responses? What is moving the brain? And the funny thing is, you're not going to find an answer to that question by science. Because the answer is actually your soul. Your soul that is inside of this body. That is what controls your brain. And now through science, yes, your brain does the whole electric impulses. They go into your muscles. They cause them as a stimuli. They stimulate them to contract. And when they let go, they relax. Yeah. But see, science cannot answer everything. You cannot find logic in everything in this world. You won't. Okay, so when should I not use logic? What is a dua, guys? What does the word dua mean? It means you're praying to the one, the all-capable, the almighty, the answerer, the listener. That is what it means. You're communicating with him, the one that created everything, the one that created your mind, the one that created your logic even. Your whole knowledge, the one that created all. You're communicating with him. That is what a dua is. You're asking him, not anybody else. Now, what is a sign? A lot of us take signs for granted. As I told you before, not everyone receives signs. And usually the reason not everyone receives signs is because we don't have yaqeen. We are too logical. When it comes to signs, guys, there is no logic. There is no logic when it comes to signs. There is no logic. Because what does a sign mean? It means Allah is showing you something. The all-capable is showing you something. In a way, it's almost like he's telling you something about the future. Because he's saying something that's going to happen, right? Look at anyone that has their dua answered, guys. Look at anyone that has their dua answered. Usually you will find a pattern. You will find them saying, it was impossible. Things were going the complete opposite. Usually, not always. It was going the complete opposite. It looked like there was no way it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, it just happened. Are you going to find logic in that? Well, logically, then when the world starts doing... There is no logic, guys. Or again, The one about the algorithm. And believe me, I've had this feeling for so long. I swear, I am not even joking. So there were signs that were given to me, obviously, and I kept going. Well, to be honest, I am following a bunch of pages that are about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it makes sense the algorithm is going to pick those, and that's what I'm gonna see. I couldn't answer though the one about the proper timing, and literally every time it happens, it's always after I make the dua. But I just ignored it and said, yeah, coincidence, whatever science wants to say, who cares? Until I kept ignoring and ignoring and ignoring and ignoring for so long. Well, actually, I wasn't ignoring from the start, but I started to ignore because the test got so difficult and it went the complete opposite, obviously, for me and everything. And I kept getting mixed signals, like I told you before in my previous video. I kept getting mixed signals, so I really started to ignore all the signs, ignoring, not caring, even though they kept popping up more. And I just kept acting like, yeah, I don't see anything, whatever. Until all of a sudden, I got undeniable signs that were not explained by logic whatsoever. I even unfollowed a lot of about Allah's pages. Literally unfollowed every single page so I don't see any of those signs. And I got signs. And they were not even from Allah pages. That is the funny part. They were from pages not even relating about Allah. It was literally from a meme page. A meme page. And you know the scary part? I looked at the whole photo album of that meme page. It's literally, I swear to God, all of it is a bunch of jokes except that one photo was saying Allah's going to answer you. Or God is going to answer you, because of course it's not going to say Allah. Subhanallah. Every single other picture is just jokes. It's a meme page. What? Yeah. So stop thinking logically, guys. There is no logic when it comes to dua. There is no logic when it comes to understanding the soul. There is no logic with these things. And of course, there was also the other one. When I started to ignore all of Allah's signs, as I said, Allah gave me a very specific sign, and I swear it literally said to my face, stop ignoring Allah's signs. Believe them. It said that in my face. And I think it was twice, because I still acted like I saw nothing. So I got it again. Subhanallah. And guess what happened? Of course, when I was doubting everything and started to not think this is all just a test and whatnot, and I'm just crazy or whatever, they weren't going in the opposite direction. The signs were all positive, as one of my comments said. It was all positive. As soon as I believed those signs, as the signs told me to believe them, everything went the opposite again. Again, it went to the opposite. Subhanallah. So is logic gonna explain that one as well? Guys, there was a very sad moment. Literally, one of my comments, I showed them the hadith about the honey, remember? That we mentioned multiple times. That it's clearly about yaqeen and not just how honey works. And how the benefits of honey, but it's also about yaqeen. You need to believe it, so it actually happens. That's the way this world works. That's the way things work with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they literally told me that is what I would refer to as basically a science worshipper. Literally told me that, well, medicine usually takes a long time to work anyway. So it wasn't the yaqeen. It was more because he gave the honey 3 times, so it makes sense it's gonna work at some point because that's how medicine works. Really? Guys, don't worship logic. Logic is good, again, but when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something relating to Allah, so a dua, a miracle, a blessing, there is no science, no common sense, no logic. Is the afterlife going to be explained by logic? There is no logic in the afterlife either. You ask, you get. That's it. You ask, you get.